Hello Neovim users! The 0.12 Neovim version will have a built-in plugin manager. It doesn't really have a name, but its functionality is provided as a vim.pack Lua module, so I'll be calling it like that, just without the explicit dot for brevity. vim.pack. The goal of this video is to serve as a relatively quick demo of vim.pack basic features, so that you know what to expect after making it part of your config. This demo uses the close to the release development version of Neovim 0.12, so there might be small presentation differences if a lot of time has passed, but the overall approach should hopefully be close enough. You can see on the screen the topics that are going to be demoed in this video. For much more in-depth details, like lazy loading and migration from other plugin managers, see the blog post link in this video's description. So let's start. What you see is a Neovim session with a completely clean demo config opened at its root. The suggested way to add external plugins is by calling the function vim.pack add inside your config. Let's create an init.lua file with a single vim.pack add call. This is the most basic, yet the most robust way to introduce external plugins into your config. A single add call that lists plugin sources, each distributed as a Git repository, which is the only type vim.pack supports initially. This vim.pack add call does two things. First, it checks if any listed plugin is not yet installed. If there is at least one, it asks the user for install confirmation, like this. You can see plugin names and their sources. If user agrees by pressing Y, all listed plugins are ensured to be installed, like this. Installation is done in parallel, with a progress report shown down below. Second, it loads all these plugins. What it means is configurable, but by default it basically makes plugins files known to current Neovim session and sources some dedicated startup scripts provided by the plugin. All listed plugins are loaded by the end of the vim.pack add call, so plugin files can be used in the config immediately after it, like this. Here it enables a color scheme, two mini.nvim modules, and a Lua language server, already installed on the machine. After the restart, all this code is applied. Color scheme, mini.basics module, you can see line numbers and cursor line, mini.surround module, and you can see the diagnostics from the language server already. Let's quickly disable this warning by using a code action. Supplying a string source will install a plugin with its default name, same as repository name, and will make it follow the default branch for updates, like main or master. It can be adjusted by supplying a specification as a Lua table, like this. The version field describes the target state to use during a first install and all updates. It supports any Git branch, tag or commit hash. It can also be a special version range object to follow tags that look like semantic versions. But let's go back to simpler specs. Another important part of plugin setup is the ability to define custom actions to be performed whenever a plugin changes, so-called plugin hooks. The suggested way of doing that with vim.pack is by creating one or more auto commands for the pack changed event, like this. Yes, this is somewhat verbose, but in return it is a very flexible approach. For example, this hook acts on every Nvim 3-seater update. It ensures that the plugin is loaded and uses its tsupdate command to update 3-seater parsers installed by the plugin. On top of listing used plugins in a config to control how they are loaded, vim.pack stores extra information in its Lockfile. It is a JSON encoded information about the current state of all plugins managed by vim.pack. It is meant to be treated like a part of the config, but should not be modified by hand. All plugins are installed into a directory that is inside a dedicated so-called plugin package. Let's use mini.files to show the exact path and to make sure that all expected plugins are present. The directory is several predetermined levels deep into a standard data path. Yes, they are all there, although mini files could be a bit more colorful. Let's quickly do that by enabling the mini.icons module. Yes, much better now. A single vim.pack add call is not the only way to organize the config. There can be several calls spread across several files, albeit with small caveats which I mentioned in the blog post. Here is one possible approach. Several vim.pack add calls, each in a dedicated file inside a plugin directory. Its contents are automatically sourced in alphabetical order during startup. There is even no need to put anything inside init.lua in this case. And you can see it still works. But in this demo, for simplicity, we'll keep using the single file approach. Just installing and using plugins is enough, but it is also a good idea to update them from time to time. For example, I prefer to do it once a week. Updating plugins with vim.pack is done by calling vim.pack update function. There is no explicit user command yet. It will first download all new changes from the source, compute new target revision, and by default show a confirmation buffer with update details in the new tab page. This is what you see on the screen right now. Apart from a general information about the plugin, there are also details about new changes, current and target revisions, along with the list of changes between them. Commits that are marked as breaking in conventional commit style are highlighted differently to attract attention. There are several nice things here to improve user experience. For example, navigation between plugin sections can be done with 2 square brackets, common convention in Neovim in general. Closing brackets move forward, opening brackets backward. Another very powerful feature is a so-called in-process language server created specifically for this confirmation buffer. It means that whatever approach you use working with LSP will also work here. For example, it supports document symbol method, which can be called by the dedicated vim.lsp function. In this video, I call these functions explicitly, but it is of course better to use mappings, either built-in ones, see LSP defaults help page, or custom. I personally prefer them with letter L prefix. By default, document symbols are opened as a location list with all the sections, but it will also work with other plugins that show document structure using this LSP method. You can navigate the list with any combination of both square brackets and upper-lower letter L. It is also possible to show extra information about the object at cursor. This is done by a hover LSP method. Here it will show the details of the revision at cursor, like this. Executing this vim.lsp function when the floating window is open will navigate inside that window for more exploration, like this. It also works on any changelog line. Right now the git.diff patch is not highlighted, as it requires installed and set up tree-seater parser. Actually, let's make it more pretty as well. Calling tsinstall user command from nvim tree-seater plugin will install the necessary diff parser. You can see it is installed now. The latest main branch of Neovim treesetter also requires manual setup of when this parser will be enabled. In this case, it is enough to call vim.treesetter.start for every diff file type, like this. Let's restart the confirmation buffer for this to take effect. Now let's see if it works. Yes, it does. The hover information is now much more readable. Yet another method that this language server supports is code actions. They will show all available actions for a plugin at cursor. Let's call a dedicated vim.lsp function to see available actions. As mini.nvim plugin has updates, you can see that there are two options: apply or ignore them. You can do this type of precise updates for every plugin. If not set up, it will use default vim.ui.select function. Let's again make it more pretty with mini.pick module, which is a general-purpose picker from mini.nvim. If set up, it overrides vim.ui.select to use the picker, like this. Accepting a code action executes it immediately. You can see that there is now no section for mini.nvim, and there is a progress indicator showing that one update was applied. It is not necessary to perform actions for each plugin separately. You can discard all changes by closing the window, like this. You can also confirm all changes by executing write command. As you can see, all updates are applied. Current revisions are equal to what was target ones. An obvious result of updating is that plugins themselves change, which needs a restart to take effect, by the way. But an important side effect is that Lockfile is also updated. You can see that revisions of two updated plugins are different now. Although rare, you might also need to delete plugins from your config. This is done in two steps. The first one is to remove from the config any logic for loading the to-be-deleted plugin. Otherwise, it will be reinstalled on the next startup. Let's use Neovim treesetter as an example here. However, this is not enough. As far as vim.pack is concerned, the plugin is just not loaded yet. There is still a Lockfile entry, as well as the plugin is still on disk. By the way, when updating, there is in this case a visible information that a certain plugin is not active. This might be an intentional lazy loading or a situation of the incomplete delete, like this one. Not active plugin has a dedicated delete code action, which you can use here. But the suggested approach is to call vim.pack del function. Again, no dedicated user command yet. It takes a list of plugin names to delete. It will remove an entry from the log file and the whole plugin from disk. As they say, to err is human. When you feel there might be problems with vim.pack, run check health command. Let's imitate some circumstances that would show up in check health output, like a not active plugin, or missing fields in the log file. Now running check health vim.pack shows possible problems and hints, along with the best effort suggestions on how to fix them. Let's apply a suggestion to fix the log file and restart to see the result. There was a message that vim.pack repaired the log file. And indeed, it seems to be back to normal. And I think that's all the basics you might need in order to confidently daily drive vim.pack as your main plugin manager. For more details, see the blog post link in the video description. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe and share. I hope to see you soon.